Okay, I know, it's been a while, but we are back. Welcome back to our PCM 25 career mode. After a pretty fantastic fast season, we've come to October 20th, so the end of season 1. So I think it's the perfect time to look back to our season to see what we achieved. Let's start off with our GC rider, Ivan Romeo, who scored some insane results this year to the point that it kinda became unrealistic. Winning races like Vuelta Asturias, Tour of Slovenia, Vuelta Andalusia, that's realistic. But winning Itzulia Basque Country plus 2 stages, the Spanish National Championships ITT, 4 stages at La Vuelta, plus points classification and KOM, that is ridiculous. That said, I think my favorite part about Ivan Romeo was his 77 time trial. The ability to win time trials, that was awesome. But our most winning rider was not Romeo, it was Mateusz Govicar, or puncher sprinter. Like, this man won so many races that I simply can't go over every single one, but 2 stage wins at La Vuelta, 2 at Itzulia Basque Country, and 3 at Catalunya, that is insane. In comparison, Yuri Leitao is more of a pure sprinter without that hill stat, and he was only able to get us 6 stage wins throughout the entire year at very small races. But Leitao is still in our team for 2 years, so the man has to step up. Meanwhile, Mateusz Govicar, I may or may not have failed his transfer negotiations, and he's leaving the team to Team Vorarlberg. Sorry, but I'm telling you now, this bro is washed. There's one more rider I do want to highlight at the end of this season, Omar Fraile, because that man is retiring. I think it's fair to say Omar Fraile had a pretty great career. 2018 Tour de France stage win, 2017 Giro stage win, and in 2025, in our career mode, a victory at Classica San Sebastian. Amazing. And of course, as a whole, our team was super successful. Victories left and right. The second most winning team in the world, behind UAE Team Emirates, is Sirocco for Endurance with 53 victories. But the question is, where does that bring us in the UCI World Tour ranking? The answer is 12th place, and that is very important because our team started as a pro team, a second division team in the sport, but because of this placing, we are now becoming a World Tour team in 2026. Now, of course, we had less than 20 riders in 2025, so that's not enough for World Tour, so we had to do some transfers. First of all, with Govicar leaving the team, we needed a versatile sprinter replacement, and we found that in Matthias Kopetzky. 5.5 star potential when it comes to sprinting, already 74 sprint at 22 years old, but also versatile, 73 hill stat, 74 cobble stat. Without a doubt, this rider will be super important for our team in the coming years. Our second signing is a GC wonder kid, Adria Perikas from the UAE Dev team. 77 medium mountain, but his other stats, 68 time trial, 73 mountain, that will get a lot better because this man has 6-star potential on stage races, so as I said, a GC wonder kid. The same can be said about this guy, Jakob Omerzel, Slovenian 19-year-old, 5.5-star potential in climbing, 5-star in stage races. Already decent stats. I reckon the combination of Jakob Omerzel and Adria Perikas will be super strong in the future. Basically, a 2-pronged trident, or a bident? Anyway, next to those 3 riders, we signed a couple of other ones, but you'll get to meet the likes of Lucas Lopez, Tercero, Schwarzbacher as the races go on. Okay, we've gone over everything related to our team, but I do want to take a look what happened around our team in the world. Not exactly a surprise, Primoz Roglic won the Giro d'Italia, but the biggest surprise this season was the Tour de France being won by Stef Kras of all people. By venturing into the breakaway on stage 20, taking minutes in GC, but he was still second in GC, 3 minutes 26 after Almeida. But sadly, causing tears for the entire country of Portugal, João Almeida crashed on the Champs-Élysées, abandoning the race, which means that Stef Kras brings home a Belgian Tour de France win. Insane. But I have to say, I still don't understand how Tadej Pogacar lost 4 minutes and 16 seconds on a time trial. Anyway, we know Tadej Pogacar won La Vuelta because we were there and we are on this page. Ivan Romeo for KOM and the green jersey. Jasper Philipsen won his second Milano-San Remo, and Mathieu van der Poel doubled up with RVV and Paris-Roubaix once again. Liège-Bastogne-Liège is maybe the biggest surprise. Antonio Tiberi and Tadej Pogacar won Lombardia, so that's not exactly a surprise. And actually, next to 2 monuments, Mathieu van der Poel is also world champion. Ooh, Jarno Widar joins Alpecin de Koning, that's interesting. And EF Education First replaces Richard Carapaz by Stef Kras, the recent Tour de France winner. I'm not sure that will go well. And the team that Carapaz goes to is Visma Leadsebike, so they're getting stronger. Meanwhile, UAE Team Emirates strengthens themselves with Matthias Vacek, super versatile. Honestly, that is kind of it when it comes to the transfer, so a bit underwhelming.
12 seconds later.
Okay then, that brings us to January 1st, 2026, the start of our second season with Sirocco for Endurance. But I think I have to start by acknowledging that despite having a World Tour license, our team is not exactly ready for World Tour. Like sure, our team has quite a bit of future talent, but at the moment our roster is not that deep. And we have to do a full World Tour calendar now, so good luck with that. As a consequence, riders like Ivan Romeo, our best riders, will have a massive schedule, around 90 race days. The exact same counts for Matthias Kopetzky, our sprinter. But even our young riders like Adria Perikas and Jakob Ommerzel will have to ride 2 Grand Tours in a single season at the age of 19. So basically what I'm trying to say is that every single rider in our team will have to over-race and overperform for our team to survive in World Tour this year. Anyway, instead of yapping about how big my calendar is, let's take a look at it to illustrate my point. I've already said it multiple times, but the massive change when it comes to our calendar is the addition of lots of World Tour races, starting off with the Tour Down Under. After that, we race in Spain before heading to Belgium for the opening weekend. Then Paris, Tirreno Adriatico, Sanremo, Catalunya, it keeps on going. But also, unlike last year, we can't select a single Grand Tour for this year. We are riding every single one, starting with our first one, the Giro d'Italia. It looks like we're taking on the 2024 edition of this race, the one that Tadej Pogacar won. But actually, our 2 best riders, Ivan Romeo and Matthias Kopetzky, will not be riding the Giro, so the hope will rest on the shoulders of young riders like Adria Perikas and Jakob Ommerzel, with the sprinter Yuri Leitao. Like, it's fair to say we probably won't be fighting for GC in that race with the squad we have lined up, but we can fight for stage wins. Anyway, after the Giro, we go through the Dauphiné and to the Swiss towards our second Grand Tour of the season and our first ever Tour de France with Sirocco for Endurance. And I'm actually super excited to see that we are playing the 2022 edition of the Tour de France. So the cobble stage on day 5, but also the mythical Col du Granon stage. And of course, this time our best riders are present, Ivan Romeo and Matthias Kopetzky. Kopetzky especially for that cobble stage. But actually, because our team is a Spanish team, I think our most important race starts in August, La Vuelta a España. And I think this is the 2023 edition of this race, starting off with the nighttime team time trial, followed by the Arinsal climb where Remco Evenepoel rode into someone after the finish line. Yes, the only thing I remember about this Grand Tour is the mishaps. And just like the Tour de France, Ivan Romeo and Matthias Kopetzky are both riding La Vuelta, plus Adria Perikas. And lastly, as a formal warning to my own riders, if a single one of you decides to do a Mateusz Govikar during the transfer negotiations, you are being sent to the Tour of Guangxi, the final race of our season. So yeah, you've been warned. Now, of course, I also went over every single rider individually and set their rider objectives. For example, Ivan Romeo, Tour Down Under, Itzulia, Romandy, Tour de France, and La Vuelta. And the focus of our classic sprinter, Matthias Kopetzky, is Milano Sanremo, Gent-Wevelgem, the Tour de France, and La Vuelta. Anyway, we've gone through our calendar and the rider objectives, but what are the objectives of our team, of our sponsors? Because our main sponsor, Sirocco, is a Spanish cycling clothing brand, we focus on mainly Spanish races, so Catalunya is our first objective, a stage win. I don't think our riders will be able to compete on the biggest mountain stages like Valter 2000 and Pyrenees, but maybe stage 1, maybe stage 5, maybe stage 7. I think those are possible. Our sponsor Sirocco is also based in Asturias, so Vuelta Asturias is a sponsor objective. We have to win it. We actually won this race last year with Ivan Romeo, so we should be able to do it again. And I have to say, I'm looking forward to stage 1 because this climb right here, the Alto de la Cobertoria, 9.4 kilometers at 9% with about 50 kilometers to go, that's an epic climb, so I can't wait to attack early there. But I do think our last 2 objectives won't be that easy. A stage win at the Tour de France and a top 10 in GC at La Vuelta, something we failed in 2025. I'm sorry, but I'm actually super excited to start this season and see what we can achieve. But there is something I have to do first. Just like last year, it is time to spend all our budget on facilities. Just kidding. Imagine. But I do want to give a small shout out to the team behind Pro Cycling Manager for fixing the finances overview on this page, showing the projections on a yearly basis instead of monthly. That makes so much more sense. But actually, I do think I want to spend some money on facilities for our team. For example, high performance tires for Ivan Romeo and Matthias Kopetzky. That costs 42,000. On the right, we can see that with our current projection, we can't really afford to do that, but I'm doing it anyway because I truly believe that we'll get enough prize money to offset that loss. It is simply worth it to have a boost of 0.2 on the primary stats of our two leaders. On to something else I really must do at the start of this season. Last season, I had to fire every single one of my coaches because I couldn't afford to pay them. So we've got money now, it's time to hire some. So I've hired 4 coaches, one of which is groundbreaking, 2 of them are modern, and the last one is traditional, but they're all national reputation because I can't afford any better. I also selected what I think is the right trainer for every single rider and also adapted their axis of training to what they should grow into. Taking a look at our other staff, we only have 1 scout left, Micha Drinovic. That's the guy that found our Slovenian super talent, David Kuhar. But I think I want a second Spanish scout. Wait a second, that's me. I'm a scout in Pro Cycling Manager? That is funny. I'm also a fairly expensive one, so I'm not complaining. Honestly, I don't need a Belgian scout and I can't financially afford to hire myself, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There we go. Benji Nassen is our new scout. When it comes to a Spanish scout, I think Hidalgo was the scout we had last year, so let's just rehire him. There we go. Now, I did spend quite a bit of money on this silly scout from Belgium, Benji Nassen, so we have to put him to work. Let's select Belgium, let's select Nassen Benji, there we go. And the man is scouting. Benji Nassen, you better find us some talent. And of course, our Spanish scout can go to Spain and do some scouting there. Actually, I did not know this, but because we have so many Spanish riders in our team, and good Spanish riders, and because our team is from Spain, we get a bonus on scouting there. Oh snap, I made a massive mistake. Hiring Benji Nassen is not just a bit expensive, but super expensive. Turns out our financial yearly projection at the end of the year is now minus 537,000. I made the same mistake as last year again. I can't believe it. So I guess that just like last year, it will be super important for our team to earn as much prize money as possible. I am so stupid. Anyway, as a wise man once said, if you ignore the problem, it will simply go away. But our season preparation is basically behind us, so we can start moving through the calendar, but I'm a little bit scared because in the first week of January, we get a really scary email telling us which of our riders have gained or lost potential, and most of the time, they lose potential. Here we go, evolution of potential, let's take a look. Unai Ramos goes from 3.5 to 4.5. That's a win. But David Kuhar, no! Our Slovenian wonder kid goes from 5.5 potential to 4! What the f***? This guy literally went from being a super talent to being worthless for our team in the snap of a finger. Like, why is this email never in that positive? Like, I'm happy about Ramos, but Kuhar is an absolute disaster. 4-star potential. Just look at what they did to our boy. They slaughtered him. This is absolutely devastating. Anyway, let's try to wash away our sadness by going to our first races of the season. Technically, our first race of the season is the Australian National Championships time trial. But Matthew Fox is 62 time trial, so I'm not riding this. Looks like the winner is Jay Vine. Honestly, having Benji Nassen on the team sounded fun, but I think I'm going to release him because we can't afford him. There we go. Sorry Benji, but you're fired. Financially, we are still not in a great place, but I think I can manage this. And technically, our second race of the season is the Aussie Road Race, but I also can't compete here. The parkour is simply too hilly for Matthew Fox, so let's do another quick sim. This one is somewhat surprisingly won by Jai Hindley. But don't worry, our next race is one we'll actually be riding. The Santos Tour Down Under, a 6-day stage race in Australia starting off with a 3-kilometer prologue. A flat sprint on stage 2 followed by a medium mountain finish. A versatile sprint on stage 4 followed by the Queen stage to Willunga Hill. 3.3 kilometers at 7.6%. And actually the final stage is pretty hard shot as well with 3000 altitude meters, so maybe a versatile sprint, maybe a GC stage. But our team, Sirocco for Endurance, is here to compete for the victory. Because, well, our best rider, Ivan Romeo, El Capitan, is here. With Jacob Omerzel as climbing support, and Matthew Fox and Javier Serrano as the flat and versatile sprinters. Not a crazy team, but still quite competitive. As you can see, Ivan Romeo is literally second favorite for the first prologue, so I think we can win this stage. But before we start, a small plot twist. Back when I started this series, the highest difficulty in this game was extreme difficulty. But now we can actually make Pro Cycling Manager even harder. Under level of in-race opponents, we can increase that to 1.10, increasing the stats of our opponents by 10%, not 5%. I also feel like it was a bit overpowered that Ivan Romeo had +3 days throughout the entire Vuelta. So I will reduce my amplitude of race day condition from ×3 to ×2, so +2 is now the maximum. Lastly, lots of you keep asking after my impact sliders. These are what they are set at. Basically, from this point, we're playing Pro Cycling Manager on hardcore difficulty. Anyway, time to begin our first race, the Santos Tour Down Under. There we go, it's time to begin. Ivan Romeo on the starting podium, ready for a 3.5 kilometer prologue. So, starting on about 89 effort, hopefully that's a good plan. Into the final kilometer, so many corners, but I'm trying to micromanage my red bar here, but I'm out of energy too early, so that's not perfect, but we are first place, so that is excellent. And to be honest, that was far from a perfect time trial. But hey, there is our man on the podium, Ivan Romeo, our first race, our first victory. And of course, as a consequence, Ivan Romeo is also the first leader in this race, so wearing the awkward jersey. It's actually quite crazy that Ivan Romeo, or rather with 77 time trial, has been able to give us so many time trial victories at World Tour level. Simply the perfect start to the season. Anyway, on to stage 2 then, which is basically a flat sprint, with Jasper Philipsen as the favorite. Honestly, with 72 sprint stat on Matthew Fox, I don't expect a victory, but I'm hoping for a top 5. I have to say, Ivan Romeo does look pretty fantastic in that Okra Leaders jersey, but we're not just here to wear it one day, we're here to try and win the overall race, but there's actually quite some serious competition. Matteo Jorgensen at Visma Leasebike, Jai Hindley at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, Ben O'Connor at Jayco Alula, so I reckon winning this race won't be that easy, but I do believe in it. Entering the last 7 kilometers, trying to move up on the right side of the road with Jacob Omerzel, but the opposing sprint trains are simply so much stronger. Look at the Alpecin one, for example. Groves leading out Philipsen. That is so much stronger than my train, but come on Omerzel, come on Serrano, come on Fox, come on Romeo. 4-man train. Oh my god, Alpecin's train just flew away. Alpecin's train just flew away. Romeo tries to move up now. Let's start a sprint with him. Serrano in the wheel with Fox in that wheel. Last 2 kilometers, Serrano can go. Come on, Fox, follow, follow, follow. This is an absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. Into the final kilometer, getting blocked left and right. And the winner is going to be not us. We're nowhere close. Lund Andresen is going to be Jasper Philipsen, but Matthew Fox finishes in Narnia. Not even a top 10 this one. That was a really chaotic final, to be honest, and it did not go well for our lead out. Like, sure, I wasn't expecting Matthew Fox to fight for the victory here, but finishing 15th, that is pretty disappointing. Now, I actually do quite like the parkour of stage 3, the corkscrew climb with about 10-15 kilometers to go, and then a plateau to the finish line, so a bit of a plateau sprint. Matteo Jorgensen is set to be the favorite, but I feel like we've won stages like this with Ivan Romeo, so I am quite hopeful. I think we might be able to compete for the stage victory. Honestly, I am talking about Ivan Romeo as a potential candidate for the stage, which is true, but we can't forget about Javier Serrano. Yes, he's got a -1 on the day, but 72 hill stat and 71 sprint stat. If he can get over that final climb, the corkscrew climb, then he's got a better sprint than Romeo. Then again, potential bonus seconds for Romeo are more important, so I think Romeo is our plan A. So, we are 30 kilometers into the stage and Dizdarevic is dropped, Kuhar is dropped, and also Paul Wright is dropped. So, 3 of my riders are off the back. The last 3 riders in the race at the moment. This shows that my team is not ready for World Tour because half my team is gone. Okay, the climb has begun and we've got Quickstep moving up on the left side of the road, upping the tempo. So let's make sure we can follow that. Serrano is not looking that good, so he's gonna fall into a domestique roll. Omerzel is ready to do that as well. Fox will drop. Come on, Romeo, you have to move up because you are losing positions, buddy. The climb is basically behind us and we're looking pretty good. Position is now fixed and Romeo in the wheel of Omerzel. 7 kilometers to go on the plateau section on top and no attack so far, which is kind of surprising. I had Omerzel just in case to do the controlling, but so far it's kind of unnecessary. Last 3.5 kilometers, so many corners, so I'm basically getting seasick. Omerzel on 99. We're losing positions. I'll launch early because I think the final is slightly downhill. Yes, it is. Serrano can launch into this descent with 2 kilometers to go. That is very risky. That's Romeo, by the way, not Serrano. And I launched too early. I definitely launched too early. The winner is going to be Tesfacion or Gilles Gelders. It's going to be Tesfacion, but Romeo does finish P3, so that is bonus seconds. Like, I do feel a bit disappointed because Tesfacion and Gelders seem like two riders I should be able to beat, but Romeo getting third place and getting those bonus seconds is a good outcome, so I shouldn't complain. And of course, because of that, we do extend our lead towards most riders in this peloton, except Gelders, who is now second in GC, somehow. I feel like stage 4 is a bit of a weird one, because when I look at this parkour, I feel like most sprinters should be able to survive this and go for the sprint at the end, but the game sees a hilly parkour. Like, our first option is to go for Matthew Fox, but I'm not sure he will survive this parkour. Javier Serrano is probably the best option because he is a versatile sprinter. Or we could try to go for Ivan Romeo to perhaps take another 4 seconds in bonus seconds. I think I'll decide in the race based on daily form. It does look like the sprint is somewhat uphill, so Matthew Fox is out of the question, and Romeo has a -1 on the day, so Javier Serrano, it is for the sprint, I think. Yeah, I'm going for Javier Serrano. Entering the last 6 kilometers of the race, one hill coming up in about 1 kilometer, and I've got a 3-man sprint train ready here, so Ride can get out of the way. Omerzel, Romeo, and Serrano. I will now use NHL way too late on everybody. That is my trademark move. And we've got Jungle spacing at the moment. I don't want to go all out yet because it is too early to do that with 4.5 kilometers to go, especially uphill because that will hurt Serrano. So let's get over the top nicely. And now 99 into the descent. Let's keep our pole position. That is perfection. Romeo in the wheel, Serrano in third position. That is nice. Ooh, the energy on Romeo is basically done for. So on Omerzel, I mean. Romeo can launch right now. Serrano in the wheel will launch right now with 1k to go. Come on, slightly uphill. We can do this, boys. We can do this. Nope, we can't. Lund Andresen wins and we finish top 10 with 2 riders, roughly, which I expected a bit better. That being said, we are losing to far better hilly sprinters like Jasper Philipsen, 74 hill stat, 82 sprint. I'm shocked that he was not the favorite for this. And at the end of the day, a slightly disappointing result in a sprint stage does not impact GC, so Ivan Romeo is still in that leader's jersey before the most important stage. I'm sorry, what? Stage 4 was basically a versatile sprint stage and Jasper Philipsen was not the favorite, but on Willunga Hill? Jasper Philipsen is suddenly second favorite. That makes no sense. Anyway, I do hope that means that this finish won't be that selective, because if it's not as selective, then the chances of Romeo keeping his leader's jersey are higher. I have to confess, I'm actually pretty confident we can bring this jersey home, so let's deliver today on the most important climb in this race, Willunga Hill. Back when I played Pro Cycling Manager 2008, I was the kind of guy that started a Pro Cycling Manager career, went to the Tour Down Under, the first 2 races of the season, and eventually got bored of that team I started controlling after 2 or 3 in-game months, and as a consequence, I think the Tour Down Under is the race that I've played the most in this game ever, because I kept restarting career modes and playing through the first race of the season, which was the Tour Down Under, so hey, I do like myself a good Willunga Hill stage, so I am looking forward to this one. By the way, I swear we started the Tour Down Under with 7 riders, and we've got 6 left, so I think along the way somewhere, we lost Dizdarevic. Then again, the fact that I'm only noticing it now means that he wasn't very valuable for the team anyway. There's actually a pretty dangerous breakaway up the road, 10 riders in total, including Harold Martin Lopez, Higita Eulalio, so some pretty decent climbers, and it's 10 riders with a gap of 3 minutes, so that's why the tempo in the peloton is pretty significant. It's also why David Kuhar and Matthew Fox are chilling 20 minutes behind the peloton. They got dropped on the first climb. Anyway, in the last 30 kilometers and the first of the 2 Willunga Hill climbs is about to start, the break is about to be caught as well, and I feel like Omerzel might be the only domestique left for Romeo after this first climb. Maybe Serrano can survive, but I doubt it. On the climb then, Matthias Watzek for UAE is pacing like crazy, and I'm just trying to survive here. I've got no plans on this first climb, and I don't think anyone else will attack here either. Then again, they probably should attack here because Romeo is basically isolated. Omerzel is done for. In the last 10 kilometers now, the run in towards the final climb, and Romeo and Omerzel are looking pretty okay now, so I'm feeling confident that we can bring this home. Maybe not the stage, but at least defend our GC. There we go, pacing myself into the climb on 85. I need to respond to anything that happens here, so let's take a look behind us. Ben Turner is pretty close in GC on 8th place, but I don't expect him to be the biggest competitor here. Omerzel is done for. We've got Bajoli on the right, and there comes a move by Gilles Gelder, so let's try and follow that on 93, 94. I don't want to go all out to chase it down either, so let's sit up again. We've got Nordhagen doing some tempo. Nope, an attack by Sobrero right now. Let's try and follow that on 89. I don't want to go too crazy either. We are following perfectly. Perfect job so far. Last kilometer. And we'll start sprinting right now over the top. There goes Romeo. Come on, Ivan. Come on, Ivan. Running out of energy, but we might still make it. There comes Tesfazion again. Oi, 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 oi. Ivan Romeo comes in 2nd place here, which is fine, but I wish we could have won on Willinga Hill. That would have been an amazing victory. 2nd place it is. Honestly, if you told me before this race started that Nathaniel Tesfazion would be winning 2 stages at the Tour Down Under, I'd have called you insane. But hey, that does not matter for us. Ivan Romeo 11 seconds on Groschartner and Tesfazion, leading GC after 5 stages with a single stage left. Stats-wise, Tesfazion is not even that overpowered, so I don't know how he's achieving all of this. Anyway, now the question is, can Ivan Romeo bring home the Santos Tour Down Under GC on a pretty brutal final stage? This time, not the usual Adelaide sprint circuit, but a Mount Barker circuit, so 8 times that climb. But Mount Barker is not exactly the hardest climb in the world, so this might just be a versatile sprint. And of course, I'm hoping that it is a versatile sprint because that will make it easier for us to win GC. Anyway, Ivan Romeo, it's time to deliver the trophy, buddy. I feel like we don't have to do anything too crazy on this stage. First of all, make sure that the break does not win. And secondly, make sure Romeo doesn't drop. The breakaway is 5 riders and actually pretty strong with the likes of Harold Martin Lopez, Magnus Coulthard, Marti, Zuterlin and Hulgaard. But Hulgaard is the closest rider on 8 minutes 47, so we don't need to be too scared. I do have Paul Wright pacing a little bit in the peloton to make sure the gap doesn't explode. We don't want the breakaway rider to steal GC on the final day, you know? In the last 50 kilometers, and this race has actually been pretty calm so far. Break is on 2 minutes of the peloton, and in the peloton the tempo is quite easy, so no crazy action, no crazy attacks. I think Romeo's GC is basically secure. The question is, can we take home the stage win? So the last 7 kilometers are uphill, but in the last 3 kilometers there's a downhill section, so we gotta keep that in mind. Omerzel is trying to control any moves that happen, but no one is really attacking, so looks like everybody's waiting for a versatile sprint. 4.5 kilometers to go. The decathlon train is launching as we speak. Omerzel can go 95 to follow because downhill is coming, so we have to keep that in mind. We should be able to keep some red bar in that descent. There we go. Romeo is ready, but I think I need to switch trains. Maybe to the wheel of Screens or Turner might be a good wheel, so let's do that. Romeo is still in the wheel of Omerzel, so that's not what I planned. Can I get into the wheel of Stewart maybe? I think that's an option. Stewart is done for, so let's get to the wheel of Turner now. That was a bad switch, That is not good. I'm not looking good when it comes to my position, so I will just launch it. I will launch it super early into the last 1.5 kilometers. Turner has a gap. He's on 3 minutes in GC, so that's not worrisome. Laurence is on 26 seconds, wins the stage, and we finish 6th in the stage, which is fine because we secure our GC victory. Honestly, I panicked in the last 2 kilometers, I chose the wrong wheel, and as a consequence, well, our result is 6th place. But hey, none of that matters because at the end of the day, Ivan Romeo is the winner of the Santos Tour Down Under, our first stage race of the season, 1 stage victory, and the GC victory. Like, it's mostly thanks to that fast prologue, but also because of the consistency of Romeo on a day-to-day basis. If you get close to a victory every day, then you don't lose any time. This is also an example of why calendar optimization for your leaders in PCM is super important. I decided to not ride Tirreno Adriatico and Paris-Nice with Ivan Romeo to focus on a smaller World Tour stage race where I believe I've got the chance to compete for the victory, and it delivered. third, we've got our GC win. I think it's fair to say that winning the Santos Down Under is the perfect start to our second season with Sirocco for endurance. Next episode we'll start off our Spanish races like Mallorca challenges and Valenciana. But for now, that's the end of today's episode. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye!